Hi everyone, my name is Val. I work for the Information Lab and I build a lot of business dashboards. And in this series, I share what I wish I knew soon about Tableau. And today I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that are used to conditionally format tables. Now, I know that recently Tableau have released a new extension for Excel-like tables, but I think for a while, for various reasons, a lot of you will still be sticking with the original text tables, so hopefully some of these tricks can help you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through these first two examples. First, a simple table with several measures where you just want to color one of the columns in two distinct colors. So in this case, positive and negative values. And second, a slightly more advanced table where you want to apply multi-condition logic to one of the columns. So in this case, in my month-over-month variance, I have three different colors, one for very good, one for okay, and one for bad. Now this third example, where I have both the name of the category and subcategory in the same column, I will record a separate video for that and will make sure it's linked in the comments as soon as it's released. Okay, so let's get into it. For this first simple table, I am going to start by bringing subcategory onto the rows. And then I'll find my current month sales, which is a calculated field saying if date trunk month of order date is date trunk month of today, then give us the sales. So I'm going to bring that directly onto the ABCs. And then I'm going to find my previous month sales and bring this directly over the numbers that I have in the table already. The Tableau will give me measure names and measure values with that. So I am going to find my third column, month over month sales, which is just the sum of current month sales minus previous month sales divided over previous month sales. And I'm going to bring that onto the measure values shelf too. Now I'll probably want to format that to look like actual percentages. I'm going to right click and format. And in the pane, I'm going to format the numbers to appear as percentages with no decimal points. What I like to do here is to add some arrow indicators for the positive and negative numbers. So what I'm going to do is going to custom format, and then I'm going to open up my character map. And in the character map, I'm going to scroll almost all the way to the bottom where I find some arrows. I'm going to copy the two arrows and I'm going to use them in my formatting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my arrows here and say up arrow 0% semicolon, down arrow 0% semicolon. So the left-hand side of the semicolon specifies the format for positive numbers and the right-hand side of the semicolon specifies the format for negative values. And if I wanted to have any specific formatting for actual zeros, I would add another semicolon and just say 0%. So if the sales were exactly the same, then I don't want to include any arrows. Cool, so now I want to add some color to just that last column in this table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my measure values and control click and duplicate it to the color card. Initially, Tableau will give me a single legend for all measure values ranging from -1 to 17,000. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the drop down of measure values on the color, and I'm going to ask Tableau to use separate legends. Again, they've all popped up on the right-hand side here. So let me just move them so they're a little bit easier to see. And now I have individual legends for the three measures that I have in the view. So I'm going to edit my current month sales legend, and I'm going to set it to custom diverging. I'm going to set it to range from black to black in just 2 steps. Okay, we can see that my current month sales column is now completely black. I'm going to do exactly the same with previous month sales, custom diverging from black to black in 2 steps. And then for the percent variance, I'm going to set something different. I'm going to let it range from a red to a green, and I'll also make it go in 2 colors, but here I'm going to go into the advanced settings and make sure that that center of when the color should change from red to green is definitely always set at 0. So I'm going to hit OK, and there we go. My last column of month-over-month variance is now conditionally formatted in 2 separate colors, so that is a little bit easier for my stakeholders to interpret. Now, if I wanted to add some totals here, I would go into Analysis, Totals, Show Column Grand Totals. And if I wanted those grand totals to also use that same coloring logic, I would have to double-click on the legend again and check this box to say Include Totals. Okay, now that 42% is also colored in green. If I wanted to color the actual cells rather than the numbers, let me just duplicate the sheet. What I need to do is change my mark from being a text mark to a square. And in this case, I would make my color legends range from white to white. All right, so this approach will work well in some scenarios, but very often you will want your color logic to be a little bit more complex than this. So let's say you didn't just want to highlight the positive and negative numbers, but you wanted to incorporate a sort of grading system. So something like this maybe. Right? If that variance is greater than 50%, then great. If that variance was still positive but less than 50% up, then that's okay. Else, if the variance is negative, then that's a bad sign. Let me hit OK. If I brought this calculation directly onto the color in the table that I currently have, it will give me the 3 different scenarios, but it colors the whole row, and that's not what I want. I still just want that one last column to be colored. So in this case, I'm going to have to take a slightly different approach to building the table in the first place. So let me undo and start a new sheet. On this new sheet, I'm going to start by putting subcategory onto the rows again. But now I'm going to go directly to columns, and I'm going to double-click and type average of 1. When I have that, I'm going to Control-click and duplicate it next to itself twice. I'm going to reduce the width, and these are my placeholder columns that I can then populate. I can go to my marks card, and I can move to the first average of 1 card, and I'm going to put current month sales onto the label for that first bar. For the second card, I'm going to find my previous month sales and put that onto the label. And for the last card, I'm going to use my month-over-month variance. Now, to make sure that these numbers actually align to the right, like they do in most financial tables, I'm going to double-click on each of those 3 axes that I have in the view. And I'm going to make sure that these axes are fixed to range from 0 to 1. I'll see how that bar extends all the way to the far right, so the numbers are now inside the bar and aligned to the right. And I'm going to do the same with the remaining axes. I can then go to all marks card and increase the size almost all the way. and I'm going to change the color to white. I can add some borders. And I can align my headers to the left. Now here I can format the color of that last column separately to the other two columns. So I'm going to open up my last average of one card, and I'm going to find my color calculation. This is the one that has the 3 different conditions, and I'm going to bring that onto the color. Now let me edit those 3 colors. So my great color is super green, my good color is orange, and my bad color is red. I could also change the format of those numbers to appear in the same way as they appeared on the previous chart. So custom, and repeat the steps that we went through on the first sheet. Now, if I wanted to color the actual numbers rather than full cells, what I'd need to do is change that last mark to not be a bar, but to be a Gantt bar instead. And when I have that, I'm going to edit the label and I'm going to change the font, ask the font to match mark color. I'm going to also make it bold. Okay, I'm going to get rid of grid lines, and I have a tidy little table. When I have that, I will probably want to let the users know what each column represents. So to be able to add some headers at the top of these columns, the only way I can achieve that is by duplicating the pills that I currently have on columns, dual accessing and synchronizing. And now for the top axis, I can change the title. So this is my current month. And I'm going to go into tick marks tab and say none. I'm going to do the same with the second column. Duplicate the pill, dual axis, synchronize, edit the axis, change the title to previous month, and have no tick marks. And same for the final column. Great. So unfortunately, if I wanted to hide my bottom axis, I can't just right click and untick show header, because that will hide the top ones as well. The only thing I can do here is double click on each of those axes individually and completely remove the title and get rid of the tick marks. I can also remove column dividers from the bottom here. So right click, format, borders, column dividers, none for the header. Great. If I also wanted to tell my users that this current month here is November and this previous month was October, what I could actually do is grab my current month calculation, which is just the day trunk month of today, and I'm going to right click and drag it directly over the average of 1 second pill that I have on the column shelf. And I'm going to select this very first exact date. When I right click on the axis, I can go into format and I can format my dates to appear as, let's say, March 2001. That will show November 2024. And I'm going to do the same with the previous month. Previous month date, right click and drag to drop directly over average of 1 pill here. Select exact date, right click and format. Okay, So the next couple of steps I'm going to include here is the addition of totals and subtotals. So I'm going to actually add category to the rows first. And I'm going to go into analysis, totals, show column grand totals. And then I'm also going to go back into analysis and add all subtotals. Okay, so I can see that I have my totals rows here and I have a grand totals at the very bottom. Now I'm also seeing a bunch of circles there that I never asked for. So I'm going to go back to my all marks card and make sure everything is a bar, except for that one mark that was always intended to be a Gantt bar. Now I'm going to add some shading to my totals line. So I'm just going to right click on one of the totals, format, shading. And for the totals lines, I'm going to add some lighter gray coloring. And for the grand totals, I'm going to add some darker gray coloring. Okay, so we're seeing that the headers have gotten colored, but not quite the actual lines. And what is happening is that because we've made everything a bar, that white bar is now completely in front of my shading. So what I can do is go to the color card of all marks card and reduce the opacity to 0. While I have my formatting pane open, I can also add some row divider. So I'm just going to increase this level. And there we go. We have our advanced table. And with this approach, we have much more flexibility with any other formatting that we might want to do. So because each of those columns has its own individual marks card, we can format the fonts and the colors and the sizing completely separately from all the others. And another advantage here is that the values in this fake table don't necessarily have to be numbers. So some can be numbers, but some may be dates or pieces of string. So what I can do is, for example, for this for the second column, I can do category instead of sales. And for the last column, maybe I could do max order date instead. Okay, obviously doesn't mean much in this scenario, but building your tables using these fake placeholder axes will give you a lot more flexibility on how you can format those. But let me do. All right. This is all I have for you today. Like I said in the beginning, watch out for the next video where I'll show you how to combine multiple dimensions into a single column to make your table a little bit more compact. And feel free to download the workbook if you'd like to explore further. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found this useful and stay tuned for more.